So you're looking to buy a C10 but don't know a lot about them? Here's some information that should help you make the best decision. I'm going to go over the ins and outs today of buying your first C10, but there is a couple questions you definitely need to ask yourself before even jumping into this process. You need to figure out what your end goal is going to be, how much time you're willing to spend, and most importantly, how much money are you willing to spend. One of the most important things I say to do during this process is try to find the best quality C10 out there, because what this is going to do, it's going to save you a lot of time, hassle, and money in the long run if a lot of the stuff that you wanted done is already done. Now, when you really start looking into buying one of these trucks, you're going to realize that there is a lot of different trim options for them. Starting at the bottom, you have your base, you're going up to your custom, and then you even have a CST, which is custom sports truck. Now, each one of these options are definitely going to have some different interior pieces and so forth. So, for example, if you're on a budget, the best option for you is going to be a C10 base model long bed, considering that the short beds are rising in popularity, and so is the price with it. So next step, we have the truck here in front of us, and we're going to be checking over a couple of different things. We're going to be looking for body damage, rust, or even previous repairs, because all of these can end up affecting your end cost. Now, it's important to end up bringing a flashlight with you, a magnet with some painter's tape on the end, so we can try to find if there's any rust or previous repairs. Some of the common areas you're going to want to pay attention to is the drip rail and windshield. You're also going to want to look at the rear fenders, and don't forget about your cab corners and rocker panels. Always remember that the outside of the panel could look great, but the inside of it could be the opposite. So don't forget to stick your head up in there to be able to look at the inside of the panels to make sure everything is correct. Now, surprisingly enough, the exterior isn't the only place that rust can hide on these trucks. You're going to want to get a thorough look over the interior as well for any rust spots that might be hiding. You're going to want to look under the cowl, kick panel, and even the insides of the cab corners here, just to make sure there wasn't any previous repairs done as well. While you're fishing through the cab for rust spots, don't be afraid to check out the interior components. If you're going for that full restoration build, it's a good idea to see if the radio is still there or in working order, and you want to make sure that the other components inside the cab are present or working as well. Now we're at the engine bay. These trucks came with a lot of different engines from the factory, starting from a 6-cylinder all the way up to a V8. No matter what engine's in yours from the factory, they were built to last, so as long as the maintenance was done, you shouldn't have much to worry about. Most importantly, while you're here at the engine bay, you want to check your fluids. So check your oil, make sure it's full and healthy, make sure the coolant system's topped off, and also make sure your brake fluid reservoir is topped off as well. Also, while we're here, you're going to want to check for any damages. You're going to see if any parts are broken, any lines are cracked, and so forth. Also, check for upgrades. Upgrades are always a plus, but we want to make sure that they're installed correctly. After doing a thorough inspection of the truck overall, it's now time to start it. Now, I can't stress this enough, make sure this is going to be the vehicle's first start of the day, because a lot of the times when a vehicle is already warm, it can hide startup problems or any other problems that may only happen during a cold start. Now, after you have the vehicle idling for a little bit, let's walk around in the engine bay, make sure you don't hear any abnormal sounds or see any leaks. Depending on what engine is in your C10, it'll sound a lot different from the one we have in the video today. So now we're on to the last step. We're going to want to take this truck out for a good test drive to make sure that the engine's working good under load, making sure the suspension and the brakes are working properly together, and we're going to make sure this is the truck for us. Now we're on the road with hopefully your new C10. Well, depending on how this test drive goes at least. First couple things I definitely like to do is when we're on a straight road, I like to make sure that the steering wheel feels pretty tight. You know, you don't want any slop in the steering, so just kind of sway left and right just to make sure everything feels all right. Next thing that's pretty important is you want to make sure the brakes work. Not only do you want to see that they stop, but you want to see how far the pedal's going down to the floor and how long it does take you to come to a complete stop. Now, most importantly, you want to test the engine out. You want to make sure it does good under load, make sure it's nice and healthy, make sure there's no weird noises, make sure it's got all of its power. Also, with that being said, make sure the transmission's shifted smoothly. I know we covered a lot of things with this test drive, but during this whole process too, you just want to make sure the suspension sounds good, go over some bumps, make sure there's no bangs or clanks that's unwanted. That's some basic knowledge on buying your first C10. Don't be afraid to do some research yourself here. Also, be sure to check out cjponyparts.com for all your classic truck part needs.